What's up? Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome in to the Chief Stone podcast on a Thursday. It is 2 o'clock Central Time. Appreciate you guys joining me live on Facebook and YouTube. For those of you listening from work, school, wherever it is, don't be too distracted with what you're doing. Focus on the important stuff. You can always listen to me later, but for those able to tune in and watch and listen live, appreciate you guys. And for those listening afterwards, thank you to you as well. A little shorter show on today's episode here. I mentioned yesterday we would be back doing another podcast here because of Brett Veach's press conference. And there's also a couple of things to go over here. We'll talk about what Brett Veach said today in his press conference. Had some good thoughts today that he shared. He kind of joked that he gives too much information, maybe more than people really think. But nonetheless, Brett Veach had some things to say that's worth talking about and going over. So we'll react to that. And also, Mayor Quentin Lucas was on KCMO Talk Radio today and had some comments about some of the recent rumors involving the Chiefs and the Royals. Had some interesting comments to say nonetheless. So we will touch on that. Also, Aaron Rodgers was on Pat McAfee's show today, and oh boy, what a mess that is. What a mess that is. I will leave it at that until we get to that subject. Facebook.com/FarzivAsu. Again, that's the Facebook page. YouTube.com/@TheChiefstone. Appreciate all of you who are all watching live on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you all so much. This podcast is brought to you by SeatGeek. That's where I go to anytime I'm looking to get tickets for sports, concerts, whatever it may be. And if you want to get to an event, SeatGeek is the place to go for you guys. And if you're a new customer, use my promo code FARZINE to save $20 off your first purchase from SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek.com, pick your tickets at checkout. New customers can put in my promo code FARZINE and save $20 off their first order from SeatGeek. Before we move on with the show, real quickly, got to let you guys know, I forgot to mention this last night. Last night we mentioned the Derek Thomas Mercedes raffle that's going on. The Derek Thomas and the Neil Smith Third and Long Foundation teaming up with the Duron Cherry Foundation for that, which is really cool. Also, another really cool event that is coming up. And I think I'm allowed to say the date for this, so I will reveal that real quickly. It is going to be on June the 5th. There's going to be a pickleball event, a charity pickleball event involving some local pro athletes in the Kansas City area. As far as details, location, all that stuff, I don't think I'm allowed to reveal that just yet. But I've got some friends in the know who are going to reveal a lot of details on this very soon. This is going to be hosted by former Chiefs wide receiver Derek Dieter, who was on the podcast the week of the Super Bowl, and also Chiefs tight end Noah Gray. So that is going to be really cool. So the Chiefs usually do a celebrity charity softball event. I guess they're changing things up this year, doing a pickleball event this year, something a little different, and trying to get more players involved from the Royals, Sporting KC, maybe even the KC Current, and also trying to get more people to come out for an event like this, changing the venue up as well. So if you are interested on that, just keep an eye out. I do want to help get the word out there. But yeah, it is going to be a pickleball tournament on June the 5th. And that is going to be hosted by Chiefs Super Bowl champions, former wide receiver Derek Dieter, and tight end Noah Gray. So be on the lookout for more details, and I'll certainly share those once those are made available. All right, let's get into today's podcast here, as we don't have a whole lot to talk about, but some things to still react to. Nonetheless, Brett Veach did his annual pre-draft press conference, and a lot of things came up here. One of the first topics that really came up, the offensive line, certainly understandably so, with how things have gone with the offensive line. Brett Veach made it very clear that, and the Chiefs have done this in years past, and he said that the team has tried to make offensive line and defensive line a priority every year. And I think the history certainly shows that with the Chiefs. And Brett Veach made it clear that offensive line is certainly going to be a priority in this draft. And that makes complete sense considering how things went last year at the left side of the offensive line, at left tackle, left guard, especially after having to switch Tooney out there. to try to have some stability at left tackle. Speaking of the word stability, he used that word several times when talking about Jalen Moore, saying that the hope is that he can provide some stability over on the left side of the offensive line. And he also praised Kingsley Suamataia, who did, of course, not start, but played a lot of snaps at left guard when the Chiefs visited the Denver Broncos in that Week 18 game. Remember that game? That was a preseason game really for Kansas City because they had the 1 seed locked up, nothing, absolutely nothing to play for. Whereas the Broncos, they were actually trying to make the playoffs. I mean, listen, I don't think Kingsley was great in that game. I don't think he was horrible or anything like that either. I really was impressed with Hunter Norsad's pass blocking abilities in that game. His snapping as a center certainly needs a lot of work. And listen, Creed Humphrey has had some low snaps, especially not this past postseason, but the postseason before. He had a lot of low snaps. But I liked what I saw from a couple of the offensive linemen in that game that Brett Veach is referring to. So I think I certainly think it does make you wonder what direction the Chiefs are going in. Because listen, I think the Chiefs feel pretty good about what they have in Jalen Moore. Could they try to get an offensive guard, specifically a left guard, in round one? And again, I'm just, predicting trades are hard to do, and I'll get into that because Brett Veach did dive into the whole trade talks as he was asked a couple of questions about that. But Gray Zabel from North Dakota State, a guy who, first of all, is versatile. Yeah, I know arm length might not be the best and most impressive with Gray Zabel, especially by NFL standards, but that versatility, having played left tackle and right tackle, is pretty good. I know some draft websites out there have him listed as a tackle. Some have him listed as a guard. Some have the tackle/guard listing as well. That certainly is understandable. But I think ultimately, when you look at who might be available at 31, I don't think Gray Zabel is going to be there. But you just never know with these things sometimes. If Gray Zabel is available at 31, I think that's a move to make. If Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas, the junior from Texas, if he's available, Josh Connerly Jr. was one of my early favorites. But I don't know if the Chiefs are going to go offensive tackle. It sounds like they have a lot of confidence in Jalen Moore, because when Brett Veach was asked about Jalen Moore, Veach kind of just went on about Jalen Moore and how much they really liked him whenever they were prepping on him for the draft. I can't remember what year he was drafted. I think it was the 2020 NFL draft. Trying to look that up real quickly just to be sure. 2021. Yeah, he was drafted in 2021 in the 5th round by the San Francisco 49ers. This is, of course, the first time Moore has changed teams. But Brett Veach talked about how much they really liked him, and I felt like he did a really good job in San Francisco, especially in the few games that he was asked to play for the 49ers. The only knock on him is he did not have an opportunity to prove himself through a long period of time, and they think he'll be able to do that in Kansas City, being able to play 16, 17 games, being able to play a season-long set of snaps and provide some quality help. Again, he mentioned that word stability, saying that the Chiefs need that at the left tackle spot. He's right, because when you look at Patrick Mahomes, who has he had at left tackle? Well, he had Eric Fisher. I mean, at the tail end of Eric Fisher's career, I wouldn't call Eric Fisher elite ever at any point in his career, but he certainly played better prior to his release. You had Eric Fisher, and then you went to Orlando Brown Jr. That did not work out, especially with the amount of things you gave up to get him. Who was after Orlando Brown? Donovan Smith. That didn't work. Wanye Morris, Kingsley Suamataia. The player they got off the street last year, DJ Humphries, did not pan out at all. I mean, the Chiefs tried anything and everything. Joe Thuney, I thought, played great at left tackle up until the playoffs. I thought he really started to struggle, kind of holding on to his own there. And I think that's also when Mike Caliendo really started to struggle as well. I think Mike Caliendo was just fine. I think he was just an average guard, which is fine considering he was an undrafted player at one point. He was a backup. And Thuney, who made that switch from guard to tackle, I thought they played fine in the regular season. I really do. And Thuney was going up against some good players in the regular season. He was going up against Myles Garrett, kind of struggled in the second half of that game more so. He went up against Danielle Hunter in the regular season, but struggled against him a month later in the playoff game. And then the Steelers, they've got a really good defensive front. And in that Christmas Day game, Tooney did just fine against Steelers defensive line there. So I liked what I saw from Tooney, but then in the playoffs, he struggled. And I'm not faulting Tooney about all of that. Like, that's not his natural position. It's just not. It really isn't. So that's not really on him so much, but the Chiefs had to do something about it. So they've moved on from Tooney, and a big part of that was because of salary cap purposes. But then you look at the Chiefs and how they feel. When you're moving a guy like Kingsley Suamataia from tackle to guard, you certainly would like to think he's got a size advantage there. Arm length shouldn't be an issue. I just get this feeling, and not that Brett Veach gave this vibe off today. Maybe he did to some people. I don't know. Because he didn't necessarily endorse that Moore and Kingsley Suamataia are the perfect guys for left tackle and left guard. But I think he feels comfortable. That's what I'm getting from Brett Veach. If Gray Zabel's available, could the Chiefs take him? Yeah, absolutely. And he said this today. He said that as good as Nico Remigio was, and I'll get into the running back and the wide receiver comments shortly, he did say that if there's ever an opportunity to improve, even by just 1%, they're always looking to push the envelope to do that kind of thing. And so I think that if Gray Zabel's there at 31, sure, I think the Chiefs have to make that move 100%. They've got to do that to try to improve their offensive line and help give Patrick Mahomes the time he needs. Because listen, I don't care if you have Sky Moore as one of your starters. I know it's not a popular name in Kansas City, but if you have an offensive line that can pass protect and give Patrick Mahomes the time he needs to throw the football, Patrick Mahomes can do just fine. Unfortunately, in 2023, not that the Chiefs had 5 great offensive linemen that year, the tackles were still bad, but in 2023, as bad as the tackles were, that wasn't the issue. The issue was the guys dropping balls: Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. And then last year, the wide receivers, well, they weren't bad. The problem was they were all getting injured. And it was the offensive line not really helping out Patrick Mahomes. Sure, the offensive production got a little bit better, especially when it came to ball security. When you got DeAndre Hopkins, you saw Patrick Mahomes' interceptions numbers drop drastically when DeAndre Hopkins joined the Chiefs, when they traded for him, when he was in Tennessee. But I think when you look at Kansas City's offensive line right now, like the wide receivers, they're good. I think you've got a good. Could you maybe add one more big piece if Luther Burden's going to drop? Maybe, possibly. And I don't think he will drop to 31. I just don't. But I could see the Chiefs making that move to get him. If he falls in the mid-20s, maybe trade up to get him or Gray Zabel. I know one popular name out there is Josh Simmons from Ohio State. That's a name that a lot of people really like in Kansas City. But I just think that in general, I think you've got the wide receivers to work with Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster as part of your depth. I think you've got the wide receivers to make it all work out. Now, we mentioned the offensive line. To switch gears and now talk about the other offensive pieces, running back and wide receiver. Brett Veach actually had more praise for the running backs than he did the wide receivers. He said that the first 5 rounds, there are a lot of great running backs, and that he hinted at the likelihood of the Chiefs getting a running back in the first 5 rounds, making it sound like it's a possibility. And I'm just kind of looking at the running back list right now, and of the potential net. I mean, you're not going to get Ashton Gentry. You're not going to get Amari and Hampton. You're just not going to get any of those guys. But the possibility of getting a guy like Caleb Johnson, if he's available at 63, yeah, maybe. I can see the Chiefs making that move right there. Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State, another name to look out for. Dylan Sampson. from Tennessee, certainly a player who the Chiefs might look at here. I know a really popular name, especially with his performance in the college football playoffs against Texas, Cam Scadaboo from Arizona State. He looked really good and obviously had a really big hand in helping ASU win the Big 12 that year. And it's so weird to say Arizona State winning the Big 12 because didn't Arizona State won the Big 12 and Texas almost won the SEC. That's just weird. That's weird. That's really weird. I know a couple of popular names locally. Devin Neal from Kansas and DJ Giddens from Kansas State. You also have RJ Harvey, another. You got a lot of Big 12 names here. You got Cam Scadaboo, Devin Neal, DJ Giddens, RJ Harvey. A lot of Big 12 names here. And also got Caleb Johnson, I mentioned earlier, from Iowa. Not a Big 12 name, but of course, a player who played at Iowa not too far from Kansas City. So you do have a strong contingency of Hawkeye fans in the area that would be excited about the possibility of Caleb Johnson coming to Kansas City. I certainly would not be opposed to that at all. And here's the thing, because a lot of people are questioning, why would the Chiefs consider a running back? Well, couple reasons why. Number one, we don't really know Elijah Mitchell, what he's going to do, what he brings to the table exactly. As far as Isaiah Pacheco goes, Isaiah Pacheco played great his first 2 years, and it wasn't not a 1,000-yard rusher. His second season, 2023, he came really, really close, but the Chiefs did not put in their starters out there for the last game. And he's on a pass-heavy football team, too. It's another thing you got to remember about Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco took a big step back last year. And, yeah, the injury played a big part in that when he got injured in week 2 at the end of that game in the fourth quarter against the Bengals. And the Chiefs finished the game without him. But they were without him for several games. And when he came back, he just wasn't himself. He wasn't the same running back. His yard per carry average dropped by a significant, I think by a whole yard compared to last year, or his career average. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was low. It really dropped. And CBS Sports was even pointing that out. The pregame host on the NFL Today, they pointed that out even well before the final number, which I think ended up being like a 3.6 or a 3.7. I think when it was around a 4.1 or 4.2, they mentioned it's the lowest he's had in a season average for his career. Could a full off season recovering from that injury, could that maybe make a difference for Isaiah Pacheco? Possibly, but he is entering the final year of his rookie deal. And if Isaiah Pacheco does not bounce back from the way he performed last year, coming back from that injury, I think this could be his final year with the Chiefs. Then you got Kareem Hunt, which is a very interesting name on the Chiefs, obviously coming back to Kansas City, re-signed with the Chiefs this offseason. And you look at his age, because he's 30 years old right now. And realistically, and I know running backs don't like to hear this, he'll be 30 in August, to be clear. Running backs don't like to hear this kind of thing, but there's a possibility that this could be Kareem Hunt's last season. Maybe with Kansas City, maybe in the NFL as a whole. We don't know. Keep one thing in mind about Kareem Hunt. His numbers did not look great last year. I'm not here to sugarcoat his numbers, but what I will say about Kareem Hunt, and I've said this many times, in a moment when the Chiefs were on their knees, really desperate for anything, because Pacheco got hurt, Hollywood was hurt, Rice got hurt, Kareem Hunt came in and gave the Chiefs offense a nice little push there that they really need. That one bit of juice they really needed. Because I think the Chiefs would have dropped the game before the 9-0 start if it was not for Kareem Hunt. I think Kareem Hunt really helped the Chiefs get out of certain situations. I think he was able to do that for them. So for Kareem, this is going to be an interesting year for him as well. How does he look with a full offseason, going through these offseason workout programs, OTAs, training camp, and a preseason? Because when Kareem Hunt came back for his first game, it was against the Chargers, the same game where Rice got hurt. He certainly looked new. That was his first game as a active member of the roster, and he kind of needed a little bit more snaps to get up to speed. He did not have the preseason. He didn't have any of that stuff. So once Kareem Hunt kind of got going, got into a little bit of a rhythm, and you saw the Chiefs give him the ball. How many games in a row did the Chiefs give the Kareem Hunt 20 plus carries? Like 4 games in a row, something like that. And that is very uncharacteristic of Andy Reid. And again, I get it. The circumstances were certainly at a spot that nobody expected or saw coming, because there were a lot of expectations for the Chiefs offense last year with Hollywood Brown coming in, drafting Xavier Worthy, knowing that Rice's suspension was still kind of pending at the time. Yeah, so his first game that he started was against the Saints. He ran the ball 27 times, 22 times against the 49ers, 21 against the Raiders, 27 against the Bucks. That went into overtime, and he got the game-winning touchdown to put the game away. So 4 games in a row where he had at least 21 or more carries, and he continued to run the ball a lot more. 14 against the Broncos, 14 a week later against the Bills, 16 against the Panthers. And then when Isaiah Pacheco came back, he only ran the ball 7 times. They both had 7 carries in that game. I do recall that. And then Kareem Hunt didn't start a game anymore after that, but did see a lot of still saw some significant snaps from the Chiefs when Pacheco came back. I'm wondering if the Chiefs, assuming they don't draft a running back in the 2nd or 3rd round, I'm wondering if they get Pacheco and Hunt involved more in terms of splitting carries and touches. I would like to see that. I'd really like to see that. Yeah, Brennan's asking, if a running back is drafted, who would be the odd back out? We haven't even mentioned this guy's name yet on the podcast today, but I would have to say Carson Steele. I know he was the preseason legend last year, but once the regular, I've always said preseason. I mean, that's great. Like in the when it's August the 18th, we don't have anything else to go off of, especially we're talking about rookies and all these newcomers. Like, we don't know what else to really say at the time, because you can't just sit there and shit on the players before, oh, well, they look great, but it's a preseason. I mean, there's also a way to go about saying that kind of thing. I still remember Zach Wilson was throwing dimes for the Jets in the preseason one year. Remember that? I do. I've always said the preseason doesn't count, but they certainly matter. And I've heard Trent Green say the same thing before. It's just, for Carson Steele, I don't really know, because ball security was an issue. It really was. And he's got the potential. He really, really does. I just don't know if the Chiefs, if they were to draft either Caleb Johnson, Cam Scottaboo, Devin Neal, DJ Giddens, 4 running backs that I really like, that could be drafted on day 2. I just don't know if there would be any room for a guy like Carson Steele. Oh, and by the way, speaking of day 2 of the draft, this came out today. The NFL, of course, likes to have that tradition where they have former players who announce the 2nd and 3rd round picks on the mic. And for the Kansas City Chiefs this year, it is going to be none other than Chiefs Hall of Famer and kick return specialist, kick return legend, really, Dante Hall. He is going to be announcing the 2nd and 3rd round picks. Did Steele move his alligator to Kansas City? Did he? I don't know. Is Kansas City a good place for alligators? I don't know. I'm asking the wrong person. I'm trying to answer my own question here. I don't know if alligators are a good spot for KC. So I have no idea. That's news to me if that's the thing, but not to my knowledge. Last comment from Brett Veach's press conference today, and as far as things that he talked about, he was also asked about trades, and I always think it's interesting because general managers are not going to reveal their strategy or anything like that. But Brett Veach was asked about trading down. Trading out of if you're trading down, you're essentially trading out of the first round. I don't think you're swapping picks with the Eagles, not because they beat you in the Super Bowl, but because I just don't see realistically what the Eagles would give up for one spot. I just don't see it, but never say never. Veach was asked about trading down. He also said that he'd be open to it, but it's got to make sense if they're getting a good amount of picks. And keep in mind, I think the reason that it would make sense to trade with a team at 29, 30, 31, 32. Maybe there's a player you really, really like, and sure, there's a lot that can happen now and 4 years down the line. But if you believe that this player could be a star for you one day, then maybe that trade up would be worth it for that team because they have the 50-year option to use on that player. So there's that value in trading down if you're the Chiefs. But Veach also, he acknowledged the aggressiveness in years past trading up. Of course, they traded up to get Trent McDuffie, I think, from the Bills. They also traded with the Bills last year to get Xavier Worthy, and I certainly think that panned out really well, especially in the playoffs, considering the player they got, Keon Coleman, only had one catch in every playoff game, whereas Worthy against the Bills had 100 yards of total offense. I mean, I don't think the Bills are going to be making any trades with the Chiefs ever again. I'd be shocked if they do that in the first round. Like a fourth round swap, sure. But what do I know? I still remember when the Bills traded with the Chiefs last year, and I saw it on Twitter. I immediately responded and said, it's clearly not the Chiefs. And then literally as soon as I clicked send, it was the Chiefs. We learned it was the Chiefs. So who knows what's going to happen with that. But Veach did also open up about the possibility of trading up, saying that the team has done that in recent years and certainly would do that if they felt it was the right move to make. So that was the big highlights from Brett Veach in his press conference today, talking about the offensive line, the running backs, wide receivers, and also trades. Some other things he touched on too, but I thought those were really the bigger highlights from Brett Veach in today's press conference that he had with the media. It was a Zoom press conference, if you will. So those were the highlights from Brett Veach's press conference. I do want to touch on what Mayor Quinton Lucas talked about today. Obviously, we touched on this last night with the Kansas City Sports Commission and several other groups joining together to make a joint video and how they want the teams to stay in the region. They use the word region several times, 7 times, in fact. And then the new rumor that the the Royals are considering North Kansas City. The mayor was asked about that and said the Royals leaving Casey Moe for North Kansas City, not ideal, but wouldn't mind it if that meant that the Royals moving to North Kansas City would give them a good chance to keep the Chiefs and renovate Arrowhead. Why is there such a focus on renovating Arrowhead? We've already renovated Arrowhead twice. I mean, this is a 50-plus year building here. 50, what is it going to be? 52, 53, 54 very soon? It's a pretty old building, man. The environment's great. And for people who are like, oh, you can't, the environment's going to be different. How? You're still going to have the same fans. It's just going to be maybe a new stadium, possibly in Casey Moe, maybe in KCK. So the environment's never going to change. You want to know an example of an environment changing? Raiders fans, and listen, say what you want, but I don't think people realize this. Chiefs fans and Raiders fans, as far as their passions go for the team, they're very similar. They really are. I mean, you've heard stories about the black hole in Oakland and all of that stuff. That does not exist anymore in Vegas. Home games are literally away games for the Raiders. I mean, I'm sorry, it just is. Very, very few times you see the Raiders have a game where it's almost all of their fans packing the stands. That is an example of an environment change. You're not going to get that in Kansas City. I mean, the fans are still going to be the same. Now, the mayor was asked about all of this, and he dove into the Chiefs, which the Chiefs are the team that's the bigger one because they're very good right now. Of course, the team's won 3 Super Bowls in 5 years, and they're still a successful dynasty. They've gone to the AFC title game every year. So the Chiefs are a hot ticket here, and the two players involved, Casey Moe, are trying to be aggressive in trying to win the Chiefs over here. Mayor Quinton Lucas said in his interview today on KCMO Talk Radio with Pete Mundo in the morning that if the Chiefs moved out to Wyandotte County, and referring really to the Legends area, he said, quote, "That is long-term bad for the region." Again, that word region is back. Even the mayor is using it now. What did he mean by that? What reasons would it be bad for the region? Well, he said that abandoning the population region, specifically, getting away from eastern Jackson County, is the team's no. So referring to some areas that are maybe a bit more west of Arrowhead, such as Blue Springs, Independence, and if the Chiefs were to move to the Legends, Wyandotte County is what he really called it. He said, basically saying that the Chiefs would be way too far. He's not wrong. I have even pointed that out, that, if the Chiefs were to move to the Legends area, when you just look at the Kansas City metro area as a whole, the Legends area where the Speedway is, the Hollywood Casino, the sport, the Children's Mercy Park, that is fairly west. It's essentially the most western part of the Kansas City area. I mean, if you go any more west of that, you're essentially going into, you're kind of moving towards K10 in a way. I mean, K10 south of the Legends area, don't get me wrong, but you're basically moving towards Lawrence at that point. So he's not wrong. I don't disagree with that entirely. But I don't think that's giving a good enough reason as to why that's bad for the region, as he's trying to word it. And he said this before, and he said this in this interview too. He said it's important to keep activity at the Truman Sports Complex rather than leaving a big hole in the middle of the city. Okay, I'm sorry. That big hole in the middle of the city that could potentially happen. What is the use of that area? Because he mentioned this in a live stream on his social media, that he said that they can do more to activate the area around it. Like what? Are you going to give us, when I say us, I'm talking about the people of Kansas City, not just KCMO or Jackson County. Are you going to give us like an entertainment district? Like a plaza, like a Prairie Fire, a Legends area, like a town center, like Westport, Zona Rosa? Like, what does that mean? I don't know what the mayor means when he talks about activating the area around it. Because if you want to put just a couple of shops and restaurants in that area, well, I don't know if it's going to get a lot of use other than the 9 or 10 games you get. I mean, the NFL will obviously increase their schedule and number of games, but you get the idea for preseason and regular season games, and hopefully Chiefs continue their tradition of postseason games. But what are you going to do to quote unquote activate the area around it? I don't know what that means, and I don't think anyone's really cared to ask. He also said it's important to keep keep activity in the Truman Sports Complex. Said that the Royals leaving for KCMO would not be ideal, but if he had to trade off the Royals to North KC, and that would give KCMO more money and Jackson County more money to focus in on keeping the Royals, he's in favor of that. And I've seen a lot of people kind of speculate on that as well, because I've seen the speculation that if the Chiefs or the Royals, if either one of them were to move to Kansas, then that would allow Missouri to focus more on keeping the other team financially. Now, he did say this about the Royals, because I do agree, Blake. I think the mayor is very nervous because the mayor has been beating this drum for almost a year now, where he's been very confident the Chiefs are going to renovate Arrowhead and the Royals are going to play downtown in KC. Well, he certainly kind of backpedaled a little bit when the Royals rumor was brought up in the discussion. And I know Pete was kind of joking with him at the beginning of the interview that the mayor looks forward to coming on to the Thursday segments and not having to discuss the stadiums. Yeah, I can imagine why you don't want to discuss that, because it doesn't really sound like there's much that that's really going in the mayor's favor right now. I'm not saying Casey Moe has officially lost the Chiefs and the Royals. It's just we're not hearing anything. Now, Kansas has been fairly quiet as well lately, but I'd like to start seeing some news. The mayor did say this. He said we're in the bottom of the 8th and we're going to close things out, and he felt like Governor Kehoe, the governor of Missouri, is the right guy to close the deal. So I thought it was interesting that he said that we're in the bottom of the 8th inning in all of this. That was a very interesting, nice little use of words there in this context. But I'm not sure if he's really being serious about it. I know the one big rumor out there is that the Chiefs, specifically Mark Donovan, the president of the Chiefs, he wants nothing to do with Jackson County anymore. He wants to get out of there. That I know that rumor's out there. The big question is, what does Clark Hunt want to do? Because he's got the final say in all of this. And again, I think the reason why Kansas is the better offer is because you're getting that indoor stadium. And I talked about this last night, so I'm not going to go into it too much on this episode here. But the idea that football should be played outdoors in the elements, well, I don't really buy that. And I don't think the people who are saying that are not buying it either, because those same people were not willing to go to the cold tundra game between the Chiefs and the Dolphins in the playoffs a couple of years ago. So as far as the whole indoor thing goes, I think you have a lot of opportunities, not just the Super Bowl that you would be bringing to Kansas City, but I think there are a lot of opportunities that would really open up. I know Clark Hunt wants that Super Bowl. He was advocating for it aggressively about 20 years ago, when the Chiefs had the opportunity to have that rolling roof, because the NFL did say, and this was a promise to Kansas City, that if they approved of the rolling roof, which Jackson County didn't, the Chiefs were going to get a Super Bowl. That was the promise from the NFL at the time. And so Clark Hunt was on this aggressive campaign to try to make that happen. And it didn't. So if Clark Hunt still feels very similar, and listen, 20 years is a long time, I'm sure maybe his stance on hosting a Super Bowl has changed, maybe for the better, maybe less likely in need of wanting to host a Super Bowl. I don't know. You would have to ask Clark Hunt that. And he's going to do a press conference next weekend. So that would be the perfect time to ask him that. If Clark Hunt still has that serious goal of bringing a Super Bowl event to Kansas City, then Kansas is the right move. Because not only do you get the Super Bowl, I think you can get a lot of other opportunities. A lot of possible indoor events that could happen at this indoor Arrowhead. And again, it doesn't have to be Wyandotte County. It doesn't have to be the Legends. I don't know why Casey Moe's not really looking into that. Casey Moe wants to renovate. Why? We've already renovated the stadiums twice. And listen, I think the Royals, what they've done with the renovations, far more impressed with the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they've got the skybox there. I've been there. It's not all that glorious, or I mean, it's cool, but it doesn't do anything for me. It really doesn't. Sure, maybe it adds a little bit more aesthetically to the look of the stadium. That's it. It doesn't do much for me. It really doesn't. The Hall of Honor, okay, that's a great part of the renovations they did about 15 years ago. But I think the Royals have done a far better job with their renovations. With the Rival Sports Bar, they obviously made a big change, I think in 2015 or 2016, adding the Craft and Draft area. That's a great place to watch a baseball game. I've been there many times. I'm actually going to be going back to Rivals for a game this year. And then obviously you have more seating area, or actually you have seating area in the fountains, the seating in the fountains area, excuse me. You didn't have that before. It was just fountains, no seats in that area. I still remember that. I was actually thinking about that when I was at Kauffman Stadium for opening day. But I just think that in general, the Royals have done a better job with their renovations. I would be more sad to see Kauffman go, because I don't know what a new Kauffman Stadium would look like. The Royals have done so much to try to improve the look of Kauffman Stadium and add more amenities. And I'm not talking amenities that are way out of, the average person's price range. If you only go to one game a year and you were to go to one of those sports bars for a game, that's not bad. Especially when they give you your loaded value, you can actually use that as a coupon, a $20 coupon. So that makes it even better, more feasible. But the Royals, I thought, have done a fantastic job. And then you have other places like Crown Club. Okay, that might be out of some people's price range, but it's also a very small section. It's not something that, takes up a third of the stadium or anything like that. Arrowhead, on the other hand, the renovation proposal was just not good. I'm not trying to shit on the Chiefs or anything like that. Did nothing for me. Really nothing. So I really hope that if the Chiefs, and I've said this many times, I don't care where the Chiefs go, I want them to do it right. I don't think renovating the stadium is the right call here. I do think it is time for a new stadium, and an indoor stadium specifically. And listen, there's a reason why so many teams are getting newer stadiums, and they're indoor stadiums now. I mentioned the Raiders and the Chargers, two teams in your own division. The Chargers sharing a stadium, of course, with the Rams. SoFi Stadium, that's considered one of the best stadiums in the NFL today, in the world even. Yeah, a lot of people said it before the renovations, Teresa, like Kauffman Stadium was one of the better stadiums in all of baseball. I think it looks even better now because you have the activity zone, you have all those, but you can actually walk behind that video board. Something that nobody was able to do unless you actually work there. When the stadium is a waste of time, they do need an indoor stadium with a retractable roof. See, that's my thing. It's got to be a retractable roof. I don't think the Bills Stadium is going to be indoors. Let me check on that real quickly. Is the new Bills Stadium covered? It will feature curved sides to cover a majority of the seat. So no, it is not going to be covered, but I guess it's going to be somewhat curved, kind of like some of those soccer stadiums where they cover some of the seats but not all of them. I guess it's going to look like that. Is there a rendering? Oh, I see a rendering of the Bills Stadium. Okay. It's not bad. You're still playing outdoors, though. And I know it gets cold as hell in Buffalo in January. Blake says, I'll be shocked if Clark passes on bringing in more money with all the events that would come with a new venue. See, that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. That there are so many opportunities with a new Arrowhead, an indoor Arrowhead, if you were to make this move. I know when you look at the Chiefs right now, this whole Kansas Star Bonds thing, this is a possible $2 billion deal here. If the Chiefs say no to this, they would be the first team ever in any professional sports franchise in the United States and maybe even in the world to reject that kind of money. And the only way it would even make sense to reject that kind of money would be if Missouri was to offer more. And listen, if renovating Arrowhead is vastly more cost effective, which the mayor has been using that as an argument, why haven't the Chiefs and KCMO come to a deal yet? And I do find it interesting, like the city voted no, but they're still trying to see if they can make it work anyway. When I say they, I'm talking about the mayor, the elected officials, those people. I just think, and look, I've said many times that the Chiefs, their proposal was not good. Some people are saying that the Chiefs did this intentionally so they can lose the vote and try to get out of Arrowhead. I don't think Clark Hunt would do that. Listen, $1 million is a lot to people like you and I, but $1 million to Clark Hunt may not mean much. Not to spit at the value of $1 million. Not at all. I'm not trying to do that at all. But the Chiefs did use $1 million more to try to get things to go in their favor for the campaign, basically. Because here's the other thing, too. The Chiefs used Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce for like a 5-second clip to hey, vote yes, Kansas City. And, the two most beloved athletes in Kansas City alongside Salvador Perez. Like, you use those guys and you still cannot get the vote to go your way. That's bad. That is bad for sure. And I think that's what made it really difficult for the Chiefs to swallow, is that they made all that effort. Because, by the way, here's another reason why I don't think Clark Hunt was, quote unquote, throwing the vote. Because of all the confusion, whether it's a new sales tax or whatnot, all the stuff that Casey Tennant was talking about, Clark Hunt, about 2 weeks before the vote, was providing a lot of clarification about the 3/8 sales tax, 3/8 cents of a sales tax. He was trying to provide a lot of clarity on that. And then he also made promising about local housing and schooling and all this stuff. It's like, wait a minute, you're now promising things to the community all of a sudden. Why was this not part of the original proposal? Because they did kind of, they basically knew that they were in trouble. I think the Chiefs, maybe they would not have admitted it to anybody, but they kind of felt like they saw this coming. I would imagine. The more I think about it, I just kind of feel that way. The Royals, I'm sorry, their campaign was complete shit. It really was. No one had any idea logistically how any of that was going to work out. That's why we're in the spot that we're in today. And we continue to get more speculation on this. We hear all these different rumors that are coming up. So it's going to be a while. Blake says, I think they will just accept it. Just Clark gonna drag this out to till later minute. He is struggling to give up the house daddy built. Look, if you're Lamar Hunt, you pick Clark Hunt for a reason. You pass this on to him for a reason. I get it. Lamar Hunt loves Arrowhead. He said it's his favorite place in the world. But I think if anybody, Lamar Hunt understands this of all people. Times change. Things change. I don't know if this was ever confirmed, but I think there's always been this rumor. Lamar Hunt, his idea was that not only should the Super Bowl be on a neutral playing field, he actually thought this about AFC championship games and NFC championship games. Do you think Lamar Hunt would really have that same stance today after the Chiefs have hosted 6 of 7 AFC title games, 5 of them being consecutively? Hell no. He'd be like, wait a minute. I'm even backtracking on my own idea because my own team is doing better. Would be kind of a strange little way to change your opinion on something because your team is thriving from that. But I don't think Lamar Hunt, would want to move away from Arrowhead for an AFC title game if the Chiefs had a chance to host it 5 years in a row. That would have been a big missed opportunity for the city and the stadium for 5 years in a row. But my point in bringing up Lamar Hunt, because you mentioned this too, Blake, if you're passing things on, you're passing it on knowing that times will change. Things are going to deter over time. Not everything stays the same. Things get old. And Arrowhead's old. I mean, I think at some point you just have to realize that, yes, while Lamar Hunt has a very special connection to that specific location, I think he, of all people, considering the businessman that he was, because I never met Lamar Hunt. I never met him. I don't know him. But I know Lamar Hunt was a great businessman. Did you not see what he did with the AFL? Was this not the same guy that came up with the Super Bowl? Or at least the name of it, but still a big driving force behind all of that? I mean, listen, the NFL is changing things all the time. Just look at the rules that they're changing so much. Look at the amount of games that are being played outside of the United States now. Even week 1 games are now at a point where they're being played outside of the U.S. and it's done for the betterment of the NFL in general. So you would have to do the same thing if you're Kansas City. If this is something that's better from a football standpoint and a business standpoint, you got to do it. You got to do it. Listen, I know there are people in Missouri that don't want this to happen, and they're coming up with every reason as to why football should only be played outdoors. But the real reason is they want it to stay in Missouri, in their own backyard. What the reality is, I have not heard one good reason why the Chiefs should renovate Arrowhead and stay there and pass on an indoor stadium. I have not heard one good reason from anyone about that. And I love the people who are like threatening their fandom. Oh, I'm not going to be a fan ever again. Like, who are you going to root for? The Raiders, who by that time will come close to 50 years of not even winning a Super Bowl and probably 30 years of no playoff wins? Or do you want to root for like a ringless team like the Bengals? Like, seriously, who are you going to root for? Are you just going to boycott football in general? Come on. I know you're not going to do any of that. Like, the people who are saying all that stuff makes me laugh, but neither here nor there. So those are my thoughts on Mayor Quinton Lucas' interview. One last quick thing before we get out of here. This is interesting. So we got the report yesterday that Aaron Rodgers is only willing to play for a Super Bowl contending team. And if no Super Bowl contending team would be willing to take him in, he'd be more likely to retire than play for any other team. The Steelers are kind of in a weird spot right now where they don't really know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. I think the Steelers are probably targeting a quarterback at this rate. Because if Aaron Rodgers is holding them up, and I know Aaron Rodgers was on the Pat McAfee show today, kind of making it sound like he was going to retire. But whether Aaron Rodgers likes that narrative or not, it's true. It's absolutely true. And by the way, I'm sorry. Aaron Rodgers, I don't understand the Super Bowl contending team coming. I do believe teams could be a quarterback away from being a contender, but don't act like you can go and make a team a better team. His stats have been fine in recent years, but if a team is a Super Bowl contender right now, they're not in need of a quarterback then. So the criteria that Aaron Rodgers requires a Super Bowl contending team. Well, I'm sorry. All those teams that you would prefer to play for, you better be willing to play as a backup, because at this rate, it's like none of those teams want you, because the only way those teams would even call you is if they suffer an injury during the season. I'm serious. Like, if Aaron Rodgers really wants to play for a top tier team, his best bet is to stay in shape, keep working out, and get ready for a call. Even then, that's not going to be an easy transition. If you're a quarterback joining a team mid-season, trying to save a team's hope for Super Bowl contention, good luck. I remember when Brock Purdy got hurt in the NFC title game against the Eagles ahead of Super Bowl 57. The rumor was, if by some miracle the 49ers were to win that game, they were going to contact Phillip Rivers to see if he would be willing to play in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. And I know people are going to say, oh, well, 2 weeks, that's a lot of time to learn a playbook. No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, that would have been the most embarrassing Super Bowl for any team. It was not going to work out the way some 49ers fans thought it could have worked out. No. It would have not worked. But some people think it would have, because why not? Yeah, no one's going to get Aaron Rodgers. I truly do think he's on the edge of retirement. Like, seriously, who's reaching out to him right now? Just the Steelers? That's it? And he also made a comment saying he's no longer waiting on the Vikings. The Vikings are not interested in you. They're moving on with JJ McCarthy. Like, nobody wants him. So I think Aaron Rodgers, stop with your high horse. Either be willing to play for any team, be willing to be a backup, or just call it quits, man. Everyone's time comes. And I think he's trying to delay the inevitable for himself. He also shared a story that that he met with Aaron Glenn of the Jets, and they also met with the GM, Darren Mogi, and he flied across the country. He expected a long conversation while flying across the country, and they asked him, do you want to play football? Aaron Rodgers said he's interested, and then was told they're going in a different direction. Yeah, because you skipped mandatory OTAs last year. And Robert Saleh even said that it was not an excused absence. Everyone surrounding Aaron Rodgers got fired last year except for him. It was not ever Robert Saleh's fault. It was nobody else's fault but his. I mean, they even brought in Davante Adams, and that didn't change a damn thing. Like, the Jets were literally the same football team, with or without Davante Adams. But Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's got a big ego right now. He's trying to he doesn't want to go out the way he did. I get that. And in athletics, these players do not want to go down with a really bad look. But unfortunately for Rodgers, I think all he's really doing is just digging himself this hole and making it bigger and bigger. Like, you thought rock bottom was bad. This is now going below rock bottom. That's how Aaron Rodgers' career could potentially end. I hope it doesn't, but I mean, at this point, you're just making things worse at this rate if you're Aaron Rodgers. All right, that'll do it for this episode of the Chiefs Zone Podcast. My name is Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all for joining me on this Thursday afternoon, reacting to Brett Veach's press conference and also the mayor's interview. If you missed any part of the live portion of the podcast, that'll be available and archived shortly, so check it all out. There will not be a Red Friday live chat tomorrow. In fact, the next time we do a live stream will be Tuesday night. Tuesday night, we will be doing a live podcast. It will be our last podcast, breaking down the draft one last time, previewing what the Chiefs will do, and predicting who the Chiefs will take in all 7 rounds for the final time. Join me for that next Tuesday, 8 o'clock Central Time. Put it on your phone, your calendar, whatever you got to do to remember that we're going to be doing a live podcast at the time, Tuesday, 8 o'clock Central Time. Once again, I'm Farzin Vasugian. Thank you all who tuned in live on Facebook and YouTube, and for everyone else listening afterwards, big thanks to you guys as well. Enjoy your weekend. I'm out. NFL draft next weekend. A lot to go over. Talk to you then.